I mentioned it in the previous video that I wanted to talk about this, that you don't need to fill your time with God, and this is going to be a video only on that because the previous one started to get really large, so I decided to make it a different video, a separate video. Many times when I talk about like it is great to spend time with God, this is the meaning of life, you should just start doing it, please, please, please. And every now and then people start to grasp it and they say, okay, I'm gonna do that. But what should I do actually? And this is a legitimate question. I had it when I started to experience God. I was like, okay, but I really want to do it. Like, what's next? And I couldn't find any resource. Like, nowadays, there are more people talking about practicing the presence, but back then, it was just 5 years ago, but I couldn't find resources on that. I started to study the lives of saints and some medieval mystics, like they had a very strong understanding of practicing silence and presence, and I learned a lot from them and I could relate to them. But the mainstream preachers, even if it was obvious that they have a great intimacy with the Lord, they didn't really talk about it. Partly I understand it because it's hard to word it, hard to articulate what's going on. But it was sad for me because I couldn't get like instructions on this topic. I typed into YouTube practicing the presence of God, and there were, I'm not kidding, probably it has changed since then. There were only two results: Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence, and Benny Hinn teaching named Practicing the Presence of God. I was very happy for both of them. I was so excited and I learned a lot, but I wanted to know more. What should I do? And I loved worshiping and painting and things like that. And I was not really much into praying a lot. So after I was fed up with worship, I was like, okay, what can I do? And yeah, the time has come when I realized like I can't fill my time devoted to God with any super spiritual activity or happening. And that's when I started to practice silence, not because I was that spiritual, it was because I ran out of ideas. And yes, so many times people ask me, like, what do you do when you have your time with God? And actually, I don't do much. So people think I'm super spiritual when I say that I spend hours with God or days. And there was a 2-year season of my life when I was only with God. Didn't have a job or anything. But actually, I didn't do much. Like, I worshipped a bit, I painted a bit, but I can't feel this time with a certain kind of emotion or reaction to that, or feeling or attitude. I couldn't even feel it up with silently waiting on him. Like, it's just, I couldn't even feel it with concentrating my thoughts on him or centering prayer. And I'm just not able to feel large amounts of time with any kind of activity or spiritual practice. And first, you can feel like there's something wrong about you, like you don't love the Lord enough, you're not faithful enough, you don't have enough willpower, you are not in first love, whatever. But all of them are lies. You are not meant to fill your time with God. It's okay if there are large spaces open. Actually, life begins after you reached your limits, you ran out of ideas, you have done all the spiritual practice, you come to the end of yourself and your spiritual concepts, and there is nothing, and that's when you are stretched. That's when life begins. Life begins after the point of nothing. Like, I can't do anything. That's it. Nothing is a great word, because every time I tell you what I do in the presence of God, people think like, oh, that's what I should experience as well. But it's okay to experience nothing. In the Old Testament, there were these animals that were sacrificed. And if you sacrifice an animal, you have no use of it. You can't eat it, you can't use its skin. It's done for you. Like, you gave it away, you wasted it. And we don't need any sacrifice because Jesus is our eternal sacrifice. But when we spend time with God, it's like this attitude, like, it's yours and I don't want to make any use of it anymore. Like, many times I give my day to God and I don't expect anything to happen. It's just His. Like, I don't try to work effectively, accomplish something. It's His. It's a sacrifice to Him. Not that He needs the sacrifice. It's just it's a gift to Him. Like, that's all yours. I don't want to use it for my ideas. And that's why it is not a bad sign that you can't feel it. I'm sure I've talked about this in previous videos, and I will talk about this many more times, I think, as I gain more understanding on that issue. So it's absolutely fine and more than fine when you reach the end of yourself in your devotional time. Once I had a great experience. It was a few years ago, and I even recorded a video of it. I don't know, maybe it was a daily experience video or something like that. I was shown different doors, which meant different ways of experiencing God, and all of them were really good and interesting. And there was this last door that was named Nothing, and it was so boring I didn't recognize it first. And when I entered, it was completely dull. And as I went farther, I realized this is the best place I've ever been. This is a whole new world here. And that's what I can tell you. If you reach your limits and you can't do anything, you are free to leave. You are free to do your thing. No condemnation, but there is something that starts only after you run out of your own ideas. I'm not saying that the practices you do are wrong or you don't experience the real presence of God. I absolutely experienced God like crazy with the ordinary worship songs and all that. But there is some aspect of God's nature that is only revealed after you enter the door named Nothing. and I'm only at the beginning of this journey, but every time I feel like, oh, I can't feel a certain way. I've done all, I prayed and worship, and oh, I'm tired, I no longer can do that. Or I feel like I can't feel a certain way. I'm full of pain. I'm so tired. I'm not centered on God. I don't even have silence. I don't have anything. I'm just here, and it's okay. It's His time. and many times there's no way you can check it out what has happened to you in this nothing. Like, you have no ability to track it, what is happening to you in the nothing. A lot is happening in the nothing. In the nothing, I mean, when you don't feel or do or sense anything, you connect with the presence of God in your mind. Because there is a whole set of emotions, of thoughts and activities that we call the presence of God, but they are only our reactions to the constant presence of God. And when we don't sense our reactions to the presence of God, we feel like we don't have the presence, but the presence is constant, so it's okay to have nothing, you will still have the presence. So yeah, many times people come up to me, oh, you are always talking about it, that you love spending time with God, you must be very like, oh, I don't know, very spiritual or very devoted, and the fact is that I'm a silly girl who wastes her time in the with basically nothing, and it's great. And many times I have great experiences, but I don't have them all the time. Like, actually, they are a very small proportion of my time with the Lord, or they don't happen in my devoted time. Like, I can have a vision of heaven by brushing my teeth, and when I sit down to be with God, usually nothing happens. So yeah, it's like, yeah, practicing the presence of God can consist of a lot of things, but it can consist of nothing. And it's okay too. Many times when I feel like, oh, I can't even reach silence, I can't even make myself think less stupid, I can't. First, you realize that it's okay not to have a vision or not to have a certain manifestation. Then you realize that it's okay not to have your mind centered around God, or not to have. It's okay not to have peace, or like, everything is okay. You are still in His presence. Yes. So I love doing nothing. It feels strange first, like, oh, something should be going on. At least my feelings should be positive now, and nothing should be happening. It's okay to do all your things and be over it, and it's okay if you can't even do your things and nothing happens. And if you can fill your time with your prayers and emotions and all that, I challenge you, just practice it every now and then, that you don't do all the things that you usually do in the presence of God or in your devoted time. You know what I mean? Just every now and then, don't do it. They are good, they serve you, you obviously enjoy God in them. Just stretch yourself into the nothing and see what happens. It's gonna be very uncomfortable, very strange, very not at home, and after you get used to it, oh, this is really nothing. This is really nothing going on right now. Oh my gosh, am I wasting my time? Yes, I am wasting my time, because it's a gift to God, so I'm wasting it, yes. And then you realize, like, oh, that's alive. Like, this another world just opens up. Nottingland just just shows its treasures to you. Yeah, it's an amazing experience, and I wish we would all go beyond all that we can and have to and should have in our time with God, and experience the world that lays beyond the door of nothing. God bless you. Have a nice trip in Nottingland, which is everything basically. Kisses.